Time Sports is brought to you by Terrible General Health System's Community Sports Institute in conjunction with Barker Honda.
As promised, the head coach of the South Terrebonne Gator baseball team, Coach Mike Barba, his team is state champions. 51 years later from the last state championship in the parish, now we have two, the Gators and the Terriers. But today we're talking with Coach Barba. And, Coach, as we come to you in that first play, you couldn't have scripted it any better. Whack out the park.
Yeah, no, Shades, I guess, just had it on his mind. He was going to set the tone. And first pitch, ball just kept carrying and it left the yard. And, as you see there, it just gave us a spark. And that's why he was moved to the top of the lineup, and to do things like that was special.
Coach, as I was going over the highlights and doing some edits on the highlights, there was several times during this game, and of course we're going to run all the highlights on Facebook and YouTube uninterrupted so you can see them, but to talk about them, several times y'all could have folded. I mean, y'all had the 8-ball against y'all, but y'all found a way to get through it.
Absolutely. And everything that you just mentioned was our season. We could have easily folded from day one. We could have made every excuse going through the year. So when you get into a game, what's the worst that can happen? We haven't folded all year. Why start now? And look, Coach Batto and Coach Ogeron deserve a lot of credit. I know they're not here. I kind of feel guilty for being here without them, but man, those guys deserve so much credit for keeping our mindset and saying those exact things that we could easily fold. But why? Everything that we've been through, why now?
And I was looking at some of the calls, and I'm not one of those that, likes to look back at the calls, but there were a couple of times where y'all really got robbed on some calls. But then again, sometimes that makes a team crumble. But I think the experience that your team had, what y'all went through last year, and what you went through with Hurricane Ida really strengthened this team.
Absolutely. Mental toughness is something that we've talked about leading up to this season. When we got into this season, we didn't have to talk about it at all. I mean, these kids have been through it all. They've some of them have still not living in their homes. And so, having to overcome those little bitty things of a bad call by an umpire, hey, what is that? What is that now? And those were things we really talked about. Coach Battle, Coach O, those guys talked about those things consistently in the dugout. And like you said, it just strengthened us and made us closer. And when it happened in a big stage like this, it was nothing.
Y'all made the plays when you had to make the plays. And when you go back to last year, and I know a lot of times people don't want to talk about last year, but last year got you to this year. So some of the mistakes you make, either it crumbles the team or they go home after the season and they go, this will never happen again. This was a game, as we were looking at it and as we look at the highlights, to me, that signified this will never happen again. And
Absolutely.
It didn't.
You're right. You're exactly right. And being in the dugout last year against the same team in the semis, just listening to the guys talk, it was almost like you were kind of hoping to find the last out. You were kind of hoping to get to the state championship game. Being in the dugout this time and listening to those guys talk, Bryce Lajani and Ethan McHugh, two seniors, were going up and down the dugout going, it's going to happen. We're going to make it happen. It was a total mindset change, and those kids never lost belief, even in the darkest of times in that game when we were down big late.
And I could sense when I was watching, like right here, we're looking at part of the game where North Vermilion definitely had the momentum. They had the crowd behind them. Their crowd, of course, y'all had a pretty vocal crowd too. You have one thing about South Terrebonne, they have great fans, great support. But at a couple of times during the game, I saw it could have folded, but the grit and determination of your team, they just seemed to battle through it, and that was several times during that game.
Absolutely. Coach Batto said earlier in the year that it was a time we were down big. And
not to interrupt, that was the play I was talking about where he beat out that.
There's no doubt. I thought about it too. And look, you see me giving him a little piece. But anyways, no, Coach Battle did a great job all year long controlling our mindset when we were down. You know, it's easy to play and do stuff when you're up in a baseball game, but when you're down and things are not going your way, like calls like that, Coach Battle, you know, said it earlier in the year, the Gators are never out of it. And, man, he could have never been more right.
You know, when in baseball, anyone who's ever played it, and I played it, and some days everything goes right and some days everything goes wrong. But during playoff time, it's time for everything to start going right. So as a coach, you sort of learn how to maneuver teams through playoff time. It's not what you do in the first 4 games or the first 10 games. It's how you're peaking towards the end. Y'all really peaked at the right time.
Yeah, look, I say it going into the playoffs every year. I think it's the easiest time to ever coach. You just get out of the kids' way. You know, you let them decide the game, and all you do is just kind of guide and insert yourself when you need to be inserted. But other than that, it's the easiest time in the world for me to just sit back and watch them play.
As we look at the highlights, and I want to remind everyone, you can go to Facebook and YouTube to catch the highlights. We're going to try to get as much on, and we are going to get the faces of the players on TV as soon as we can get them away from the family vacations and everything else. That's all schools. But as you look at this, any superstitions along the way? I know when we played, there was, you got to put your socks on a certain way. You got to do this. You got to do that. Anything stands out to y'all?
When we got into the playoffs, the kids kind of bought into, when you get into a 3-game series, that we're going to wear our black jerseys on the first game. You know, we're going into every 3-game series knowing that we're going to only play 2 games. That's the ultimate goal. So in the first game, the kids bought into wearing their black jerseys. And then a tradition we kind of put into play in 2019 actually is championship green, the green jerseys you see there. And we kind of deem those jerseys a special jersey. They can only be worn on Saturdays, the same day as the championship final. And little did I know 2019 that these jerseys would actually make an appearance. But I think they not only made an appearance, but they made an impact on history.
There's no doubt. And let me ask you this. I see a lot of, which changed, the game has really changed in a lot of ways, but pinch running is, that there's more kids going in and out the game. Pinch running, that's become the norm, hasn't it?
Yeah, you know, on the high school level, you get courtesy runners for your pitcher and catcher, which is crucial, I think, you know, to allow those kids to focus on their task. And, you know, we got into a point, and we got role players all over our team that understand what they're there for and how they can help the team in the best way possible and what their value is as a player. And we got into a point in the game where we unleashed all of them. All pinch runners we had to throw them in there, and they all scored. One even scored from first base on a double, which was huge because we actually took the lead at that point. But they all understand their roles, and as you can see, it all comes into play.
Yeah. And as we look at the highlights, we continue. We're not doing a play-by-play highlight, folks, just to let you know. We're just rolling them in. But did you feel like this game was lining up? So, here we go. They got another run coming in here. But did you feel like it was lining up for your pitchers and your rest and all that, or did you feel like it was against you at this point?
Coming into this game, we felt good. You know, we had Christian going in this game against their number one, our number one, and look, Christian is a winner. He's a competitor, and he just goes out. He doesn't make excuses, and he competes, and he gives us a chance, and the team feeds off of that. And look, Jackson Martin in the first game against Lakeshore, he's a competitor, and nothing phases them on the mound. And it's crazy to kind of sit back here and say that. Because there's so much that goes on in these types of games in this atmosphere, and there was a calm about them, which was impressive. It was so impressive to sit back and watch. Like I mentioned earlier, you just sit back and watch them play, but there was such a calmness, and they go out and compete, and the team feeds off of that.
You know, and as we saw Christian, he had his game face on, definitely, and you could tell when Jen had some shots of him coming to the dugout, he definitely had his game face on. But I've always said this, and I remember Mom and Dad getting so nervous at our games and they would talk about how nervous they were in the stands. And I said, well, we out there playing. We're not nervous. It's more nerve-wracking for the fans, isn't it?
Absolutely. Look, even in the dugout a little bit, Coach Batto and Coach O's got to tell me to calm down all the time because I'm more nervous than the kids. But it's just kind of, I guess, being a former player and having a control over the outcome, and now as a coach, you don't really have that same control. It's a little bit more nerve-wracking. As a player, you can go out there and you compete and you can get in a rhythm. But just like you mentioned, those guys set the tone for us by how calm they were.
But you played at the next level. But it's something you just don't lose. Your personality is your personality.
Absolutely. Look, I'm gonna compete with anybody, and hopefully the kids, they did, as you see right there. Drake, he's been struggling a little bit, and he just comes through with 2 big hits at the end of the game. Was enormous for us. But
he turned it on when he had to.
Absolutely.
And there's a pinch runner there.
You go. Brock Cangelosi did a great job for us all year. But yeah, look, you see how excited they are, and it's just fun to sit back and watch.
Yeah, when you sit here and you think about, 4 seniors, am I correct?
4.
And so you got a pretty good nucleus coming back. And you talked on this show earlier. You came, I don't know, a month and a half ago. I sat down with you, and you said you were trying to build a winning tradition. Well, you backed it up. You definitely backed it up.
Yeah, we're going to try to keep this going. I think if you focus solely on trying to win the whole thing, you're going to back yourself into a corner.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to do when we start baseball again, for the summer and next year, is we're going to start from scratch, and we're going to learn how to catch a ground ball all over again. We're going to learn how to work hard to put us in the best position possible to stay successful.
Now, if you're watching these highlights, you're going to probably sense right now that South Terrebonne's in trouble, and they were at one point.
Yeah. Look, I played there my 4 years of high school and graduated in 2009, and I'm still friends with all my teammates, and they still continue to follow. And when you make an accomplishment of this stature, all of Gator community has reached out, and you see the people in the stands, and they traveled well, and man, they really showed up for these kids at this moment. But just to have them come out of everywhere and show their support, and you see them in the bleachers, but now you're seeing them and you feel their support. Man, it's incredible. It's an incredible atmosphere, and I'm so glad to have been a part of this as a player and now as a coach.
I had y'all semifinal game. I taped it personally last year. Jen had it this year. We had 4 teams in the semifinals, and it was uncharacteristic of this area, but to have 4 is quite a accomplishment for an area that really needed it. But there again, y'all were down 5-2 at one point. And I keep setting it up because what's about to take place after that is incredible. Anybody who was at the game and looking at it is going, man, momentum is such a big thing in sports, but we all know that momentum can change. This was indicative. He didn't want no help.
No.
I mean, people are trying to help him. He's going, I got this. Just leave me alone. I think that's sort of like your team.
Dude, absolutely. Cole started playing center field for us about halfway through the year, and never gave it up. He never gave it up. That play where he went off the wall was like a message. It was like a message that we are not going down, or we're not going to go down easily. And for him to bounce up like that, man, it gave this team such a spark. For him to bounce up like that, and it was amazing to watch. It was amazing to watch the effort that he gave, and the effort that all of them showed the entire game, and then the resiliency that they showed.
Yeah, what was the mindset in the dugout? What was going through y'all minds in the dugout when y'all are coming up and here's another shot right here. Y'all had to score all these runs. I mean, that's pretty stressful at that point.
Yeah. So when we fell, we were able to tie the game up kind of in the middle innings, and then they scratched a couple, and we were down 5-2, and man, it was kind of like a here we go again type of mindset for a little bit, and then all Coach Battle kept saying is the Gators are never out. The Gators are never out. And, man, one at bat after another, we chipped away and we chipped away, and then Drake delivered the blow that actually put us up in the top of the seventh.
And it was 6-6 at this point as we're looking at it now. But then you got to go out and that may be a passer, but I thought he did a great job all game long of digging out some balls at first base.
Absolutely. Look, they all put it on the line, and they knew that every baseball that was thrown in their direction or they were throwing to somebody else had a tremendous weight behind it. And, they all just competed. And you see Bryce right there on the mound to finish it out. And what a way for him to go out against the same team that kind of knocked him out last year.
Yeah.
In the same spot.
And here you go, Coach, right here.
Yeah. I actually almost missed this. Not Shay, me. I almost missed watching it. I kind of looked back to see if anybody was covering second, because I noticed that the ball was going a little farther than we wanted it to. And then you see Shay come out of nowhere and snag it, and my initial reaction was, who we got to play next? Because I didn't believe that it was over. It was really over until you see the dog pile. And, man, incredible.
The most valuable player.
Oh yeah, Jackson. He was look, he's had his ups and downs at the plate and really battled through it. We never lost trust in him at all, and man, did he come up huge with two big hits right there at the end.
And as we are watching South Terrebonne bring home a state championship, I always think it's cool when you coaches, of course they're going to call the team up here, but then you'll see in a little bit, they always let them go and see the parents and the family. That's such a cool thing. But look at that. 51 years ago is the last time a team held a state championship trophy, and y'all are doing it.
Incredible. When you think about what those seniors have been through and had one of their seasons canceled, and here they are standing on top of the world. It's moving, and everything they've been through.
No doubt about it. And we're going to close. We'll go to a two-shot here in the desk, because between me and Coach Barba is that trophy, which will be now forever at South Terrebonne and forever in your minds and forever with the kids and the parents. Congratulations, Coach. Well done. And what a super moment and a great moment for this parish, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. The kids will forever be remembered.
No doubt about it. There you have it. The victors, South Terrebonne. And tomorrow, same time, we'll have Vanderbilt Catholic on. They brought one home also. Congratulations to the Gators and the Terriers. We'll be back with more.